this year, I've decided that I'm going as the scariest creature in the world, my ex-wife.
And that is an impression of Kevin Spacey doing Johnny Carson.
That's very good. All right, he's good. He can be here. He can be here. That's fine. What's going on, everybody? We're in Joseph's backyard, and it's pretty.
Why'd you whisper?
I don't know.
You're being creepy, dude. Kind of freaking me out.
Ain't no me. No, I'm not being creepy.
This is a
That's
no
not how
freaky
that
zone,
works.
guys.
I'm
okay.
trying to make
can't
sure
just,
that
like-
if our
I declare it.
Well, you can't just like be creepy and then tell everyone I'm not being creepy. That's not how that works.
Nowadays it is.
you're not allowed to call me creepy.
I
I'm
don't
just being
identify as a
myself.
creep
Well, stop driving past school zones really slow, dude.
in a
Like,
white windowless panel van.
don't wave at
Hello.
my child if you don't know them. Like, just, that is creepy. Not
Stop.
who you are.
Stop giving out free candy.
If there's an ice cream truck with no label, it's not an ice cream truck.
It's just a creep in a truck.
Well, we have Brandon Carson here. Brendan or Brandon?
Brandon.
Brandon, okay. I don't know why. Here on my phone is Brendan. What is wrong?
So
I don't know.
I struggle with the name Brandon, Brendan. I don't think I know a Brendan, but I knew two people growing up who were Brendan, and then I met you, Brandon, and now I'm just so I think for the longest time I was calling you Brendan. I'm pretty sure, but you probably heard it both ways so many times.
I've heard
dancing.
Brad before, which is the first, so that's fun.
Yeah. Oh, Brad. Yeah, that's
Stupid. I'm going to have so many mosquito bites on my legs. Why'd I wear shorts?
I don't know.
You can't tell. There's a tablecloth.
I did tell
Don't
everybody
look under the cloth.
Did you?
about the mosquitoes. In one of the texts I did. I thought it did.
Yeah, you did. And then I was like, no, it's going to be cold. Nope. It's not. Well, anyway.
Wait, no, it's going to be cold. I'm going to wear shorts.
All right. Well, we've got Brandon Carson here. He's a good buddy of ours.
You
Well,
seem
becoming
enthused.
a good buddy. He and Dan just met, but Joseph has this ability
Nice
to.
to meet you, buddy.
Joseph has this ability to get to know the best of people.
Convert people.
And convert people, yes.
Evidently.
But tonight is a special episode. Well, first of all, your honorary bourbonist cigar. This is the blue cheese from Pravada. It is
That's a great
phenomenal,
cigar.
phenomenal cigar. And then these are from Dan Cheese. No, these are from Steve Danchise.
This is from Dan's Cheese,
These are the
not mine.
sea cheese. These are our secret unbanded cigars for this month.
Super secret.
From Sigaro Cigar Lounge. Shout out to you guys. So here we go.
The
new
cheese.
stickers. Youngstown Cigar Company. I wonder
That's
if they
delicious.
changed the
They're never
smells.
going to make that again.
Yeah, buddy. That is a good.
It just smells so good.
All right, here we go. This cigar, number 2. Or the second, the unbanded cigar. Okay, so details. It's the wrapper's Connecticut. The binder's African Cameroon. The fillers are Dominican, Colombia, and Nicaragua. It's a medium-bodied cigar, creamy, floral, nutty, subtly spicy. It goes great with bourbon that have like caramel and vanilla notes, which is why we have our trusted and true Buffalo Trace here. Very caramel, very vanilla, very good.
The hell's going on?
I don't know, man.
What are you doing?
So, good hints about it. This cigar made its debut in 2023. Cigar manufacturer at Dominican Republic Tabacalera El Artista. Many of this brand's cigars are Pravada Cigar Club, are featured in Pravada Cigar Club and Luxury Cigar Club. Co-owners from Pittsburgh. The brand makes slight nods to Reservoir Dogs while naming some of the cigars in the line. The word of the brand means left hand. Well, shit. Well, I know what it is now.
Spoiler.
The word of the brand means left-handed. Well, I already know the brand. That was a big hint, Steve. That was, I don't know which one it is, but I know the brand. Do you want me to tell you?
I've never heard of it. I don't think I have.
Sinistro cigars. So Sinistro is another word for left-handed.
Silistro.
Sinistro.
Oh, Sinistro.
Yes.
Like sinister, but
Yes.
it's a
Okay.
evil villain.
Yeah, never heard of it. Wow. This is delicious.
And then that blue cheese is just going to treat you real nice. It's going to treat you real nice.
Smells good, even without being lit. Well,
Great retrohale too.
Oh my gosh.
I'm getting the spice and the caramel. That's great.
Yeah. Hey, it's my turn. Oh, it's a single.
Bless you.
Was that a sneeze?
No, I was talking to myself.
Got it. How's everybody doing?
Doing great. It's been a great week so far.
Okay.
Not complaining.
Usually our first comers speak last.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to tell them that. Sorry, Brandon. But since you started, you might as well finish your thought.
I'm messing with
Yeah, no, it's been a good week so far. I just started a new job yesterday. It's going to be a good thing for my wife and I in our future together, but it was kind of a hard change from what I was doing to what I would be doing now. But, you know, it's just a really great opportunity for, like I said, myself and my wife. So,
Nice. And you were in landscaping before this.
yes, landscaping for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Really got to grow in my faith journey and work around a bunch of Catholic men and women, and kind of really gave me a good kind of structure of what I wanted to look in a faith, and just made it easy to work with them every day, creating that moral. But that's why it made it tough
Yeah.
to leave.
That would be tough.
But fun thing is I get to work with my father-in-law every day now.
Is that fun? You can grab it. I wanted to pour for you, but whatever.
Thanks.
I made this joke, I think, with somebody when I first started there. They're like, "Oh, Crystal Daniels' father-in-law must be terrible." I'm like, well, you know, I kind of thought he's the controller. He's going to know what I make every day. Oh, wait, he already does our taxes, so that's out the window.
Dude, I can feel them. They're all over my legs. Bravada Cigar Club. Best online cigar club. You need to join. Like now. I think
a good
I've
place.
had probably 30 Bravada cigars, 30 different ones. I think I've had 2 bad ones. And it was most likely because my humidor was bad, because I had just gotten it.
Yeah.
I don't think, yeah, anyway.
Yeah, I think I've had 2 or 3 cigars that it wasn't so much that they were bad either. They just weren't either interesting, or it just wasn't a taste that I enjoyed. Like, it was either kind of bland and nothing special. But yeah, everything I smoked from them, besides those, it's been phenomenal. Yeah. Do you want to move that bottle to the tray?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
Honorary
Sir, sorry.
There it is.
I don't know, was I Canadian? Sorry.
Sorry.
It's Canadian
Sorry
there
about
for a
that.
second. Dan, how you doing over there on the
Chilling.
end of the table?
Chilling. Just got off a 12-hour day, trying to just,
Chill.
yeah, relax.
Yeah. Sorry, that's right in your face.
I like. Wait a minute. I like the smell of smoke.
I like it in my face. That's what you were gonna say.
Cut myself off there.
Close, yeah. Well, and then I was gonna pause myself, but then I was like, you know what?
Send it.
I'm trying to be a better Dan.
Ah, that's
Can't
good.
find a better Dan.
I'm sure you can. In fact, I know you can.
Doubt it. Highly doubt it. So, I wanted to talk about something. Dan, the last episode that you and I just did, We talked a little bit about self-worth. It was more along the lines of not self-discovery. What would you say that the conversation was? Just kind of...
From what I can remember, it really had to do with the importance of self-awareness, and it's important to be able to take stock of your mistakes in particular. Where have I not stepped up to the plate where I've been called to? Where have I what areas of my life have I slacked in? Because, I mean, I think with each and every one of us, even as we're trying, there are areas in which we can always do better in. But then it's also something that an idea I try to bring up is also when it goes too far. At least I believe I did. I brought something up that had to do with when taking stock of yourself can kind of go a little too far. When we go too far in taking stock of ourselves, and but being able to be comfortable in one's skin, I think, is kind of the crux that we got to, and that doesn't mean that just because you believe something that it's right. So being able to recognize when maybe an opinion or a belief of yours isn't complete, but being comfortable in your skin, knowing that, I mean, not needing someone else's validation to ultimately give yourself the validation that you can, or more importantly, the validation that God can give you.
Yeah. So, I wanted to continue on that because we got a message from a fan. And she has given us express permission to talk about this.
You know what it says? It says, shut up.
Don't talk about it.
Yeah.
She gave me express permission to, because I run our social media, to talk about this. And to not obviously name any names, but just discuss something that she needed some advice on. It has to do with self-worth. She says, hold on, open up, phone, do your job. I know you dropped you in the toilet today, but I saved you. Anyway, that's a true story. She said, hey guys, I think I could use some advice. The last time we spoke, I told you that I was dating a man. I'm very happy. And he just started his doctorate degree. He is, as she puts it, turbo level smart. His inner brain volume is always dialed to 100. He is particular about his clothes and his space for efficient optimization. He uses nicotine regularly. Amen. To regulate volume, control, focus, and alcohol to wind down. But not aggressively. Like a man does.
Yeah.
You know, like a sweet, nice bourbon at the end of the day.
Like a gentleman.
Like a gentleman.
That's good.
He's careful and calculated, or he's careful and calculated about the alcohol. And he said she said it's pretty flawless. And she says, yes, the tism is strong with this one. He's a leader who has shown time and time again that he cares about faith, family, and the future to education, and people following their dreams and never giving up. How do I get people to see that? I'm really, really struggling with people constantly disrespecting him. Yes, he's not perfect, but he's a good man with a brilliant mind. He is not traditionally the most masculine man. He's sacrificed for family over and over again, putting their needs over his. He's listening to me, and he respects me and my opinion. He makes me feel like we're equal. All people see is I'm going to end up in a lavender marriage with a nerdy... Whoa. So someone said this to her. You're going to end up with a... Okay, sorry, this makes me mad. You're going to end up in a lavender marriage with a nerdy little gay boy who listens to Taylor Swift. Why did you leave the other guy? He was so cool. She says, I'm not joking when I say I felt my guardian angel holding me down in my seat so I didn't jump across the table to kick the crap out of this person. I'm working on my emotional part and control of that. He says that these things don't bother him and that Einstein said that smart people will always be weird to dumb people.
What a smart response.
But I just see the disrespect and it's painful. So, what do I do?
Well, and I remember when you first brought this up to me, Adam, my first thought was, I mean, that's awesome that this guy he knows his own self-worth. And he knows that, I mean, I've said this a lot. I'll try and make it less R. But
Okay.
Everyone has opinions, and they all stink.
Opinions
That's to
are
the
like,
effect.
No, opinions are like assholes. Everybody has them, they all stink.
Yes.
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to, I think all of us kind of deal with it, not just men, but women in particular, in their own way. You know, people of the same sex always kind of criticize and can't even find the word. They criticize each other based on what their idea of being either masculine or feminine looks like. And if you don't fall within their own personal belief of what masculine and feminine should look like, then they're ultimately going to criticize you. And
Right.
and that's where I feel like good on that guy, because he was like, cool, you guys can think whatever you guys want. It's as long as I'm not doing anything immoral in order to be a man, I'm gonna be who God made me to be. I'm gonna be who I know I am. And if you guys don't like it, great. And I think that's where, but I also think it's good on her for having that fire to want to stand up for someone she loves, because it clearly shows
Yeah.
she cares about him.
Yeah.
And I think in today's day and age, based on what we see, especially in social media, that's hard to come by, honestly. I think a lot of times there can be significant others who will laugh at those jokes and laugh along with those jokes instead of like standing by the person who you're with and being like, that's not cool.
Yeah. Well, and I think, we don't have to go down the line here, but I received this message a couple of weeks ago, and so I've been thinking about it quite a bit. And honestly, good on her for finding a man that is that stable in himself. Because men are notoriously constantly obsessed with how they are viewed by other people. I struggle looking at myself in the mirror. Because if something is off, then I don't even want to go out in public. Occasionally, now this has to do with my autism, but occasionally, like, I'll get dressed 3 or 4 times. Because I can't find something that makes me look as good as I think I should when I leave the house. And men are notorious. It's a very, very common thing in men to be hyper aware of what other men or women think of you. And so to find one that is so genuinely, I don't care what they think. I like me, and that's enough. It's very, very rare. But again, to go back to what you said, Dan, good on her for, like, being like, I want to protect him. I want to protect his... I can't stand this disrespect, you know?
Yeah, I want to add to that, and forgive me, I might cry when I get this out, but...
Oh! See, I'm not the only guy that does it. Dan's like, yeah, you are, pussy.
So when my wife and I had first met, I was a Christian man who was kind of rooted in my own category of, like, this is who I am, and I have no problem with what people think of me. But I ultimately know that if I have a problem with, an addiction to alcohol or some substance or behavior, that I have to fix that, and that's my choice. Now I can seek out guidance to clear through that. But I ultimately knew that it wasn't for somebody else to diminish me for. It was up to me to figure out and discern, yeah, I have this problem. What am I going to do about it to better my faith, better my relationship with my significant other and my family and my friends? And I just remember looking at my wife and thinking like, man, she's a Catholic who has it on lock. Now, obviously, there can be a false facade that people put on, but I could just look at her and know that she was rooted deep in her faith. And I longed for that. Somebody who wasn't just putting this like, yeah, I'm a Catholic, and just shows up to church every Sunday and keeps it that way. It was she truly kept a home where it was like, this is who I am. I believe in God, and these are my beliefs. And if you can't structure to them, but you can structure along them, we can find that common ground. But if you can't agree with what I think, then this won't work. And so I took that as, I need to be that same way. Like, what are my beliefs? And how do they correspond with her? And how can I be better about those things? And so, just this past year when I became Catholic, there was a lot that I had to look at. And just look at, like, okay, what am I doing now versus what I used to do prior to becoming Catholic that I want to stop? Or ultimately just change. And so I remember meeting with a friend from the Ignite retreat and just had this courage to just outspeak about something on in my life that I realized was not good for both my marriage and the people around me. And I just had that weight lifted off my shoulder of like, yeah, I spoke out about that. And now I've come to the realization of I'm not the only one who struggles with this, but I know that other men will help me be better because they want to be that way too. And so I really took that kind of all in the captive of, who am I? And if somebody doesn't like that, then too bad. Like, I'm allowed to be me, and there's no apology for that.
Right. I'm not harming you. You just don't agree.
Right.
Get over yourself and go find something else to talk about.
It's especially hard in today's world compared to how it was, 50, 60 years ago, where
Compared to how it was 15 years ago.
where if you didn't like somebody's view or didn't like what somebody believed in,
Right.
it wasn't like a, well, damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. It was just kind of a, okay, you don't agree with it, then that's fine. Like, we're allowed to be that way. Now it's become that structure of, you don't like it, well, I have a problem with your beliefs and what you think. And it's all in your face.
Yeah.
Just the way Dan likes it. So, real quick, do you want to say well, Adam and I are more like a third of the way. Joseph's about half.
No, not quite.
Good.
So,
Are you a chimney?
So, Brandon, part of our episodes, especially with Sigaro, is they send us these cigars and we do like a cigar review during the episode. So, as of right now, I will say within the first third of the cigar, at least the cigar that we were given, I'm getting a whole lot of, it's a very nutty forward cigar for me. I'm getting a little bit of floral on the back end, like if I really look for it, but it's very nutty.
Which
First
nut?
and foremost, honestly, I'd probably say more cashew. Like it's kind of a richer,
Oh, okay.
thicker.
Cashew is what was on my mind too with this. There's also I'm also getting like a toasted butter almond, but the almond's light. It's subtle, but there's like this roasted butter note as well on this cigar. This would be a terrific morning cigar.
Absolutely.
Paired with some coffee.
Yep.
This would go great with an espresso or.
I'm getting like I get the butter thing because it kind of coats your mouth, and the bourbon helps.
Yeah.
The bourbon really accentuates it. But I get the like caramel sweetness, and almost very very rich.
Well, and I will say, if you take a puff and then take a sip, it's almost like it's like a caramel bomb. It's almost like a caramel candy you just kind of chewed on.
Like a Werther's.
What's the chewy version of the Werther's?
Oh,
Comes in like a square or block.
I know what you're talking about.
Wow, that caramel.
It's very present,
Good
heavily.
call.
Wow.
What are you getting, Brandon? He's smoking something different.
You're
Yeah.
smoking the blue cheese by Pravada. Shout out Brian.
Yeah, buddy.
How do you like your cigar?
So, I
Not-
don't know much about.
You don't. Hey,
That's
you don't
okay.
have to give it any flavor
No.
notes or anything. But how are you enjoying the experience?
tastes good.
Yes, it tastes very good. I traditionally go more towards the lighter cigars, but this one has that heavy presence
Yeah.
in the smoke, but it is very smooth.
Yeah.
Good.
That's kind of the mark that Pravada does, is they're all really smooth smokes. But yeah, this I'm
You got
pretty
a good burn on that too.
pretty sure it's Sinistro, but it's real good. Oh. But yeah, back to what Brandon was saying, like it's or I guess picking it. Joseph, what do you think about self-awareness, self-worth? Who are you? What are you doing here?
Oh boy.
Well, this is my home.
All the big questions.
I live here. Go home.
What am I doing here? What are you guys doing here?
Oh.
Steady.
You just did what you told us not to do.
I know. I touched the mic. Oh no! I touched the mic.
Well, in terms of the right end, I mean, look, I think there are many forms of masculinity. There's the one that I think most men probably strive for. That's to be strong, athletic. That's it. I think everyone has an ideal of what that looks like. Women have their own version of what they wish or want to look like as a woman or be as a woman. I
Right.
think men have the same thing, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. I think it's good to keep in mind there is an element of vanity that you have to fight against. But
Explain that. What do you mean?
just so it's good to go to the gym, right, to get strong. But there's an element that can very quickly creep in of going to the gym to look impressive, to impress everybody, to be strong so that others admire you. And in that, that can be some vanity. And then if you don't fit that mold, then you're hard on yourself. And there's this, because on the one hand, it's good to want to look a certain way. It's also good to push. If you start leaning the other way, like, you don't want to be unhealthy, but you don't want to be so fit that you start looking yourself at, like, idolizing yourself. So I think anyways, I don't think it's a fine line, but
There's a balance.
yeah, there's that balance, which we talk about quite a bit. But I've known some really great men who they weren't gifted with an athletic body or strong muscle, strong bones and all those things, but they were given the talent to work hard, and they have a gifted mind, and they were able to provide for their family and be the spiritual head and the that father figure in other ways. It doesn't all have to come from one stream. There's the ocean is filled with many streams. It's kind of a dumb analogy, but anyway, many things. So I think it's important not to be too narrow-minded. That if you don't fit this one mold, oh well, then you're a failure. Because I don't think that's true. And I think it's really admirable and beautiful to have a woman that I think we've all said this, that defends and looks out for him, because I think men need that. I think a man really needs a woman who is going to have his best interests at heart as well. Because part of being a man is to take care of your wife and anticipate her needs. And it's unfortunate that we kind of live in a society where the reverse isn't really encouraged or taught. If a man has needs, that's looked at as weak and, ridiculous and misogynistic and all these things. But anyway, so I think it's really admirable that she's defending him, and I think that's great. I think a man needs that.
So I guess
Do
what
you
we're
think-
saying is the episode's over, and you have a good guy. All right, see you later.
You have I do have a question though.
Okay. It's not over. I was kidding.
Well, I didn't
Before we
believe
end,
you. Dan, would you like to ask your question?
And now it's time for my final thoughts.
Do you think there's a moment in which, so obviously she wants to stand up for him, but is there a moment that he should, taking this person in this particular instance, do you think there is a moment in which it is prudent to actually stand up for yourself and to kind of push back a little bit? And I guess what society would say is defend yourself, defend your honor, defend your reputation, your respect. Or would you say in this instance his reputation would be considered vanity?
You asked a question that I've wrestled with for so long, of when do I defend myself? When do I let others just have their opinion and let them, go to bed with that? I don't really know. That is something that I've struggled with for a while, because, I come from a standpoint of one of my love languages is words of affirmation. So getting validation from somebody is the way that I feel loved, protected, cared for. And so that's always been a cross too for me, because if I do something well, there is a big part of me that really needs that to be acknowledged and appreciated. And so when it's not, it can be kind of hard, especially when it feels like it's been ignored, like it was seen and not acknowledged. And so something that I've been working on just in my life is being okay with the fact of knowing and finding comfort in, okay, but God saw it. I did it in His eyes. I did it to the best of my ability, and I think it was good. And just being okay with that. And then if I get something more, great. It's just, that's icing on top. But then on the flip side, I think there is something too about addressing and pushing back against injustice too. Because if someone is erring in their ways, if they're just criticizing or being a bully, essentially is what it sounds like, I think there's a justice in that you push back and you correct them in that as well. More for their sake, I think. Maybe you don't need it, but this person or these people that have a negative view of someone who sounds like he's a great guy, there might need to be some sort of a correction or understanding of where they're coming from, so that then they can perhaps heal. And there's I think I've talked about this, something called unilateral forgiveness, where you pray for somebody you pray for forgiveness for that person for their sake. So they wrong you, maybe they flick you off on the highway, and they move on with their day and they don't think anything of it, but it hurts. Or maybe you see someone treat someone else, with injustice and, in a cruel way, perhaps. And so instead of just thinking about what they did and maybe forming your own opinion of them, instead praying out to God, Lord, forgive them for their sake, and help them to recognize, what they did, and bless them and heal them. And so you're praying for forgiveness, even though they don't know that they need forgiveness, or they may not think about it. So that might be one call, one thing, one way to approach it as well, is pray for those people, especially if it's a consistent person in that man's life. Pray for their conversion,
Well,
one
and
approach.
to kind of piggyback off that, or to add to a part of what you said, this was actually a quote that I brought up our most previous episode. It was this quote that I heard that was, and this is directed towards those who desire other people's acknowledgement, appreciation, is why would you go seek, or validation is actually the word I meant. Well, the other ones work too, but why would you go seek validation from people who are intertwined with the same individuals who put Christ on the cross?
Yeah.
So,
that
I mean,
may be my favorite part of the last episode.
I mean, Christ obviously seeks our love. I wouldn't necessarily say our approval, because, I mean, approval doesn't necessarily mean love, and neither does attention. That was another thing we brought up, was that attention doesn't mean love. But why would you go seek the attention and the approval of individuals who are in the same line and same area of the people who put Christ on the cross and crucified him?
Well, and I think my favorite part of what you said in the last episode was he couldn't get their approval. Why are you looking for it?
Yeah.
Because it does come down to, I mean, it's very cliche. I don't want to say cliche about Scripture, but like, it's said very often, the joy of the Lord is my strength. So why look for or teach yourself to need the approval of somebody who has no... Now, like, if your mom came to you and you're really close to your mom and she was like, hey, you're being an asshole, then you, like, perk up a little bit and be like, what? Hold on. Maybe I need to shift. Or
But
like
even then...
But even then... But, like, if your wife comes to you and says, hey, so, don't know what happened, but you're kind of being a dick recently, probably should shift that. Her approval I care about. Like... And she would only challenge me if she knew that there was something off. But the rest of these heathens around the world, like, who... We're all heathens, let's be honest. But, like, the rest of these people, why do you care? And yet, this is something that I've struggled with my entire life. And this has a lot to do with my condition and where I can't necessarily control it because my brain works like a reward system, and so I have to constantly have some sort of dopamine going, otherwise my brain doesn't function properly. And so I struggle constantly with this fact. I look at myself too long in the mirror. I change outfits because I think, I do go to the gym, but that, what you said, hit me really hard. It was like, why am I going to the gym? That went straight up your nose. Oh, man.
Nice. Screw eating protein, snorting it now.
That was like
It's the new way.
That was
Right to the bloodstream.
You saw that?
Dude, he looked like he had a conversation with his friends and said, watch this.
That was his initiation.
Oh, you're now in the group. Oh, we forgot to tell you your initiation's going to kill you. All right.
Sorry, Frank.
My bad.
Well,
Hazing too far.
I'll play devil's advocate, though. Your wife is just as sinful as you are.
Oh.
How do you know that she's
Don't
not...
let her tell you that. Don't let her hear you say that.
Careful.
Show her this
Careful,
episode.
Icarus.
Show her this episode. She knows me. She already wants to hit me. But, so just add it to the list. But
She cooks for you. That means she likes you.
yeah, but she can still poison it. But, or
True,
at least spit in it. But everyone's wife is just as sinful. And so that's where I would say acknowledge and recognize when your wife is, what would you call it, chastising you or calling you to a moment of self-recollection.
Right.
Right? Because I think ultimately that's what she's recognizing something's off. But also recognize that there could be not the entire call to self-recollection would be self-projecting. But there could be some sort of self-projection in there to where I've said this before, or we've said this before, even if there's a problem and 99% of it is the other person, there's still 1% that is yours to deal with, that you still have to collect to. And that's where I would say, you get your hand around his back? Nice. But that's where... Nice. I'm kind of jealous.
He's swatting bugs.
That's where... like a horse's tail.
Not the bourbon.
Brandon is my horse's tail.
Nice. But
Right
that's
at the nose. You're welcome.
that's where again, playing devil's advocate, she's just as sinful. So how much of that do you take to heart, or do you take it to heart? Because taking it to heart can bring you lower depending on who you are. So this is where your self-awareness and your self-love comes in.
I actually think there's a perfect answer for this. It depends on when she's saying these things. If she's calm and she's collected and she's not upset with you, but she says, hey, I need to talk to you about something. I've noticed this. I feel like something's off. What do you think? Because it's very rarely, at least with my relationship, it's very rarely, well, you're a dick. Like, it's not like that.
Yeah.
And when it is, it's, well, first of all, it's just not. But then when it gets to...
But when it is.
But when it
It
gets
never
to...
happens, but when it does,
It never happens. But there are heated arguments, because that's what every couple has, aside from Joseph and his wife, because apparently they're perfect.
Saints.
But... Saints.
Speaking of Saint, can you pass me the buffalo?
Yeah, no problem. But my point is, like, there are moments where you can tell. So, like, if my wife is calm, collected, and like, look, something's off. We need to talk about this because it's not normal for you. That's when I pay attention. If she's upset with me and she mouths off or something, that sounds bad.
sorry.
That sounds terrible. If she just, like...
Again, she's human.
Right. If she's pissed because I did something stupid and she's like, golly, man, why you gotta be a dick? Like, that's... Then I'm like, oh, okay, she's just mad at me. But if she... Am I answering your question, Dan? Like, there are times when to take notice and there are times when it's said off the cuff. I feel like off-the-cuff emotions should never be paid attention to unless you continue. That's called a pattern of unhealthy behavior. But, like...
Well, and I would even... I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead. And I have a story
I was
that came
just
to
going
mind.
to say... Okay, please hold on to it. I was just going to say a quick remark. I also think no matter how emotional your significant other is, again, it doesn't matter if you're a wife who's listening and you're thinking about your husband or vice versa, but no matter how much emotionality gets played into the opportunity for self-recollection, I think you have to have a level of self-love and self-understanding or self-knowledge in which no matter how emotional your significant other gets at you or to you or shows to you, there is still a level, there's still some wisdom to gain from what she's calling out of you or what he's calling out of you ultimately. But in a moment, it takes a lot of self-discipline and self-respect to be able to, even in your significant other's one of their lowest moments to where they're letting their emotionality run the show, there's still some truth and some wisdom in what they're saying. And so being able to go, number one, I'm not going to let my emotionality run the show because that's not going to help anything. It's not going to help me, and it's most certainly not going to help love my significant other. But what are they saying? What are they trying to get at? What is the thing that I may need to change?
Yeah.
And that's where I think it's a circumstantial answer. It depends on the circumstance, because it depends on the two people going at it. It depends on your self-worth and your self-love that you have. It also depends on the self-love and self-worth of the other person, because I think the lower the self-worth and self-love of the other person, that's where a lot of projecting tends to come in. Or it can. Because now they're seeing themselves in you, and you are pissing them off, when I think it can be God trying to get at them, being like, hey, this is going to be an attitude that we need, or a self-belief or an opinion we need to change, because it's not helping anymore.
Yeah. There's
Round of applause.
There's two stories that come to mind. The first one is King David in the Bible, who was living in sin, and I think it was just after he had that wife's husband killed.
Bathsheba.
Bathsheba.
And I believe her husband's name was Uriah.
Right, and he was abandoned at the front of the line. And a peasant woman calls him out and rebukes him in public in front of everybody. And he could have had her killed, and that would have been the end of it. But instead he recognized that was God speaking through her, and he took that to heart and he repented. So I think there's, as we grow, God willing, in wisdom and age, we should be growing and maturing spiritually and mentally and emotionally, to where if someone does criticize us or call something out on us, they might approach it at a level 10. You do this all the time, and maybe you just do it occasionally, but if someone who has self-awareness and a certain level of maturity, they can take them and be like, you know what, thank you for pointing that out, I'll work on that, and then that can be the end of it. Whereas I think an immature person, they'll get their feathers ruffled and they'll push back and be like, how, you think that's bad? Look at what you do, and they put it right back in the other person. And so I think having some self-awareness and also, just some maturity and calmness, you can take it, and you can discern it. I would, encourage you even to thank them. Thank you for pointing that out. I'll work on that. Because unless they're just flat out lying, in which case that's on them, there's probably a kernel of truth in what they're saying. And so if we can just recognize that and learn to diffuse the situation and just end it, I think we'd be a lot better off. There's another story about a man and his son who go on a journey, and they take along with them a pack mule, and they pass somebody on the street, and they said,
Hey, nice ass.
no. They said, I think that's terrible that you would burden that mule with all of your, belongings. You should be carrying it, and let the mule, walk alongside you comfortably. And the man took that to heart. He's like, you know what, you're right. And so he takes everything off, and he burdens himself and his son with everything. And they keep going down the road, and they pass somebody else, and they say, why would you carry all your belongings? You've got this perfectly good mule that would be happy to bear your load. He's like, yeah, you're right. So they put it all right back on, and they continue on, and they say, why would you make your son walk all this distance? You should be letting him ride the mule, and you should be carrying all this, all your belongings. And the father, you know what, that makes sense. So he puts everything on his back. He puts the boy on the mule, and they continue on. And by the time they get to their destination, they show up with the man carrying the mule and the boy carrying all the belongings, because someone else has suggested that too. So I think you can be so open-minded that your brain can just fall out too. Everyone's going to have some opinion, and if you take everything to heart, or if you try to please everybody, I think you're going to end up miserable and exhausted, because everybody's right in their mind.
And no one's right all the time.
No. Actually, I think I heard another version of that story where the donkey dies in the end, and the father and his son walked back home carrying all the belongings. I think it had to do with, you should be feeding the poor with that, perfectly healthy mule or something like that.
It's just dark. They carved up the
Nice.
mule
Yeah.
because of
That's-
somebody's opinion. Moral of the story: don't kill your mule for somebody else's opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's such a tough topic to discuss, and because everybody's got their own version of it.
Their own mule.
Everybody's got their own mule. Everybody's got their own baggage. Everybody's got their own. Well, not everybody's got their own kid, but everybody's got their own version of how it should be. And I think realistically, the reason that we are to cast aside the things of this world, and that includes others' opinions, is because it will ultimately kill you. It will exhaust you caring that much about it. Like, there's a level of professionalism to carry.
Right.
There's a level of manners to have.
Yeah.
Like, there's a difference between caring for other people and caring about what other people think.
Right. Yeah.
That line's not fine. There's a big difference. But a lot of people think that line is fine. A lot of people like to cross that line of, like, I care what they think. I care for them, and I care that I have to be professional with them. Therefore, I care about their opinions, and I care about what they think.
Right.
And I've got a couple guys that I work with that are not afraid to share their opinion of you. And it takes every ounce of my willpower to stay silent, because I know that it's not going to help anything. Like, I had one guy, so I have, job sites that I have to be on sometimes, and different things like that. And, at one point, there are times where I'll have 3 or 4 jobs going on in the same day or in the same week or whatever. And I had a guy in our company tell me, you're not that busy. You can be at all your job sites all day long. This person also lives alone, has no responsibilities except his job. But we were in the middle of a company meeting, and instead of choosing to humiliate him with what I knew was the truth, I just let it slide.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of strong will to not care about what other people think,
There's a little bit of a game that I think you could turn it into. Like, if I respond, he wins. If I don't respond, I win. And I'll let him have that last word, because it's a really nasty word.
Yeah.
We'll let it end on his period, and he's going to look stupid. Whereas if I pipe in and I yell at him or something, then I'm going to look like I'm going to lose.
I'm going to look like an ass. Because,
Yeah.
why would you stand up and... I mean, what's hilarious is people would look at that and be like, "Wow, that's so mean." It's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes truth is mean.
Right. Yeah.
But that's a whole other topic that we could get into.
Well, and and it gets into right and wrong, and there are multiple ways of doing things sometimes, and both ways are correct. And I wrestle with that of, okay, this person wants to change this thing that wasn't broken. The change isn't necessarily better, it's just what he's comfortable with. And so do I just support him because no skin off my nose, or do I encourage him to leave it the way it is because that's the way everyone else is used to doing it? It's a tough battle.
Well, and that especially with me personally, in my opinion, on what the scenario you just brought up, Joseph. I feel like we've dealt with that numerous times on this podcast itself. Like, ideas will be brought up to make it better.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of going with, no, we should keep things the same because I don't want to change, or going with, yeah, we should change so that we can just change. At least I learned this with my job right now, and also with, I think, the podcast is why? Sell me on it. How is changing going to make it better? Show me how. I'm more than willing to be, and not necessarily wrong, I'm more than willing to be sold on this.
Yeah.
But sell me why, prove it to me. Change my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I change my mind and it does make it better, great, because it's better. It's more efficient.
Yeah.
But if there isn't a legitimate reason on, oh, this is actually going to be better, then we're kind of doing this for naught.
Well, let's, Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
Like, why did you change the logo? There was nothing wrong with it. People loved it. People recognized it. You just changed it to change it. Like, what times were you getting with? I
actually have a conspiracy theory on that.
I think they did it on purpose?
I think it was 100% on purpose, because I drove by a Cracker Barrel the other day. It was the middle of the day on a Wednesday, and the parking lot was packed. I think they did it for publicity, because they weren't doing as well as they wanted to, and they weren't talked about as much as because I remember as a kid going to Cracker Barrel all the time, or like after church or youth group or whatever, like, because it's a decently priced place to eat whatever you want, because they've got breakfast, lunch, and dinner all day long.
Right.
And so that was something that I frequented at least 3 times a month when I was younger, after youth group and all that stuff. And so, but I think that was on purpose. I really do.
I'm sure it is. Companies rebrand all the time, and it's just
they really did want to rebrand, and it really didn't work out.
Yeah.
But they got all this attention, so they were like, let's just forget it. We'll change it back. It's fine. Yeah. Let's put the old man back in the picture. It's fine. He may be white. It's okay.
trying to run with the idea that all publicity is good publicity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wrestle with that. I don't really understand it. Like, even bad attention is still attention. I'm like, I don't want bad attention. I don't want to piss people off just so they're talking about me. Like, that's not.
Not something that I crave.
No, it's not conducive to a flourishing life, in my mind.
I feel like when people are talking about you, that's not good.
Yeah.
Why do you need people to talk about you?
Oh, I heard this quote the other day. I'm sorry. Did you have more?
Well, and this is kind of goes along with.
Okay.
More
So anyway,
Mother Mary help. Like how I switched that. Yeah. Become. Oh, he's beginning to believe. That my personal opinion on the whole stance of if a loved one is being disrespected, or if you're being, more specifically, if you're being disrespected, do you stand up? I say F it. If it helps you sleep better at night to talk badly about me, good. Go ahead. I've come to a much better place of knowing who I am and what I am. So, again, if you're going to get 8 hours and a full 8 hours of sleep by talking bad to me, good, go ahead. Because, again, they're just words. And plus, you talking is about the equivalent of me blowing hot air out of my rear end. So, it's...
Don't be PG now, dude.
Fine, you're blowing smoke out your ass, bud. Like... Your words are just as useful as me farting. So go ahead, fart away. At least I don't have to smell it.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Brandon,
but when to end it. But when it comes to disrespecting someone who can't stand up for themselves, that's where the line's drawn. Because now you're disrespecting someone again. I'll say it again, who can't stand up for themselves, who may not have the strength to, or who's, for whatever the reason, like it's not happening. That's where, as a man in particular, I feel like you are called to stand up and say, hey, listen, you have crossed the line. Because now you're going after someone, and I hate to call them weak, but I mean, they may be in a weak mental state or a weak emotional state, and just for whatever reason, it's not coming out. They may not have the self-awareness to be able to fight back. That's where you as a man should be able to go, hey, I'm going to step in, because that's not right.
Yeah. Well, Jesus did that in the temple. That
Mhm.
righteous anger, it wasn't for his sake. He was angry on behalf of his Father. And then once the situation had ended, so too did his anger. And I think that's where we start to sin, is when we hold on to that anger, and we didn't just, when subduing that situation or that person isn't enough, you want to humiliate them and belittle them. Okay, it's like what started out as perhaps righteous anger has turned into sinful anger very quickly.
Yeah.
You're allowed to talk, Brandon.
Dan, it's funny you bring that up about
That's funny.
I can't remember specifically, but so to kind of give you a bit more about my background, I come from a family that did not go to church at all. Like, didn't go to church except for weddings, funerals, that sort of thing. Like, that was the only time we went to a church event, so to speak. And so I'd kind of believed from a very young age, like, yeah, I do believe in God. I do believe in the practices of what these people are doing, whether it's you're non-denominational or you're Catholic. And when I kind of stepped into that, I didn't seek my parents' approval for it, because I knew no matter what, they were going to be like, yeah, go for it. Like, this is what you believe. We're not going to tell you no. But when I got baptized, I said, can you guys be there? That would be great. I'd love to have you there. And if you say no, I'm totally okay with that. And they gladly said yes. I went to my baptism. And then this year when I became Catholic, they came along to go to the Vigil Mass. And I forewarned them, like, hey, it's going to be like 2 hours long, 2.5 hours long. So just sit tight. But they went. And my mom had said that was one of the most beautiful church things that she had been to, like getting to just witness the candlelit procession into the church and just seeing that, like, what I'm going through is for me to grow in my journey. But I think what was so beautiful is what came out of that was my parents ask questions now, or when we're sitting at a dinner all together and we get ready to pray, it is like dead silent, and they sit there respectfully and bow their heads. And I never sought that approval of, like, hey, if I'm going to pray and you two want to eat, go for it. Like, you can do whatever you want to do. But it was that respect of, like, they're praying, I'm going to stop everything I'm doing to get their attention. And that hits me hard, because I'm like, I want to talk to my parents about that, and that's my cross to bear. But my brother and I had this conversation, and it was the hardest question that we always get asked. Why does God let this happen? Or why does God let this happen? And it's like, no, that's not the case. And when I explained to him was, like, this is the situation, the circle, and what is happening is God's purpose. This core is not what's happening on God's terms. It's what's going to happen, and how is Brandon or others going to circle back. And so I explained to my brother, like, in the event that a child is passes on from cancer or some nasty accident of some kind, car accident, whatever, God didn't intend for that. God's intention is, okay, here's the hardship. Brandon's falling out. Brandon's kind of seeing that circle of, like, okay, I've gone through my grief, but now I can't just sit here in self-pity. I have to find something. And then something or someone comes into your life and you circle back to point A. And I think when I explained that to him, he really took that and just kind of stopped and, like, yeah, I get that. And so he took that, and I went to church the next day with my wife. We were at the lake, we went to Mass, and the homily was about being shepherds. And I just thought, like, Travis, if you could be here to witness this, like, this is what we just talked about.
Yeah.
Like, this is God's purpose. I had this conversation with you, and now we're at church talking about this. And it's moments like that where I just look at my family and think, if you could see that full circle, not just part of it, but the full circle, you'd understand why I believe these things. But also, the maturity level of that came from, you know, a car of mine got broken into several years ago, and I was mad.
You should be.
But I didn't show that resentment to God. I was not like, hey, God, let this happen. No, I realized that wasn't his purpose. But what it allowed me to do was be angry and then sit there and go, yeah, in hindsight, everyone's okay. Like, my car got broken into, sure, I'm mad. Nobody else was hurt. Nobody else's car got broken into. My car's still here. Like, there's a lot of positive things in this moment that I have to take away. And so a friend of mine through Ignite said that's a lot of spiritual maturity, because a lot of people wouldn't see it that way. They'd just be like, yeah, like, God intended this on me, and it's not that way at all. But I think we often forget that in that moment. And so we often think, why would God allow this to happen? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's well said.
Yeah. Very well said.
But kind of like you were talking about the mule, I think, in a sense, the mule is an analogy of our cross.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's going along the desert, wherever he's going, and his journey, and people are pointing at him like, do this, do this, do this. And his cross to bear should be, what am I going to do? Like, am I going to listen to the guy that's telling me to put my kid on the mule? Or should I ride the mule? Like, what should I do? And so that cross to bear for this woman, and how her significant other is, like, grounded in his journey of, like, no, this is who I am. I'm going to provide for other people. Her cross to bear is, do I let other people dictate my belief that this person is a great human being, well-rounded?
Wow.
Or
Yeah.
do I take this as, no, I believe this, and I don't want others to dictate that? And I think that's how she's kind of battling that. Like, what is my cross?
Yeah.
And it's
That was
tough
great.
because there's also an element of we don't want to be so proud that we don't think we need to change either.
Yeah.
And
It goes back to that game you said.
right. So, okay, take it in. You know, digest it. You know, what needs to stay, let that stick, and then the rest, let go of.
Yep.
You know, it's kind of like taking vitamins. Like, your body's only going to keep what it needs. The rest is going to be discharged. And I think the same can be from, you can do the same thing with criticism or rebukes or, you know, what have you. Take it to heart and pray about it. And if that person really, if God brought that person into your life to call something out on you, then be humble enough to accept that. My issue when I get, like when someone doesn't like me, you know, or has a problem with me, you know, is, well, I'm worried about what's going to come next. You know, there's this fear of self-preservation. Well, what if they make my life harder? You know, what if they schedule me longer hours or on days that, you know, I need to be off or, you know, whatever. And so there's this self-preservation that I wrestle with of, I want to keep them on my good side so that they take care of me, as opposed to, I think what God's calling me to is the trust, to be humble. If my life does get a little bit harder, it's not the worst thing in the world. You know, this life is temporary. My wife pointed out, because I was going through a tough time, and she said, well, maybe this is good. It's going to make you mad enough in a sense that when a better opportunity comes along, you're going to jump, as opposed to being so comfortable in your current situation that you're going to let that opportunity go by. And so I don't think there's a perfect answer.
No, but that is a good point.
It is. And I think she really touched on it well. we're on a ship, and there's going to be waves and high points and low points, and sometimes you just have to ride that storm and just kind of see where it takes you. You know, you do your best and you navigate it as best as you can. You make the best decisions that you can. Yeah.
Well, and this is where Brandon, I would play devil's advocate to what you said. Your idea of, well, God allowed this to happen. This is where I'm a convert as well. And this is where I was taught there is two separate forms of God's will. And Joseph or Adam, please help me.
Yeah.
You're on your own.
There's God's permissive will, and there's God's perfect will. So, God allowed something to happen. Yes, it was completely unfortunate, or what we deem as unfortunate. In our very, I would say, sheltered eyes, because we see from a very limited perspective. So, basically, I did fantasy football this week, so to use a football analogy.
Yeah, buddy.
I think all of us.
He got destroyed.
I got smacked, and I am
destroyed.
Adam couldn't wait to just share that.
pissed.
I'm pissed too because I helped him draft.
No, you didn't. You kind of did a couple, but all the ones you helped me did fantastic, and all the ones I did didn't. So, here's to that. So, to use the football analogy, I think our perspective is about as similar to a center's perspective. To whereas God's perspective is the one who's up in the booth. He sees everything. He sees the way the defense is laid out. He sees the way our offense is behind us. Because again, a center, you literally see the lineman or two linemen in front of you and the ball you're about to snap back to the quarterback. That's it. That's all you see. So you see literally 2 seconds from the ball going between your legs to the quarterback's hands, and then you see the lineman or two linemen coming at you. Yeah. That's about it. So that's where from what I was taught, I would play devil's advocate and say God did allow it, but hindsight's always 20/20. You never know how God is going to use it because God never wastes anything. Just like how there's, what was it? The tornado that went through Joplin. Do you know how many people came out for volunteer service to help rebuild, to help clean up? Hurricanes, Katrina, the numerous down in Florida. Do you know how many people tithed and gave millions of dollars? And not only millions of dollars, they gave money and time. They went down, left their jobs, left their families, went down to go help for weeks on end. Now, granted, yes, it's unfortunate that families lost their homes. They lost everything. 100%. But the amount of love that was shown afterwards. I mean, What do you think happened in between the couple days that Christ was dead, between the apostles? I mean, yeah, they were scared, but they congregated together. They shared time together. Everyone who was truly following Christ at the time in which he died, now granted, we're not going to talk about the fact that they weren't there, besides Mary and John and a couple others, but disregard that. They all shared in their pain. And honestly, I think it helped him grow. They witnessed this horrible tragedy together. I'm dealing with a death in the family right now, and it's bringing my family closer together.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, buddy.
It's part of life. And again, just like how death is bringing my family closer together, it's helping me come to a deeper realization of enjoy the time you have with the people in your life, because you never know when it's gone or how it will go.
Yeah.
I think to add to that, it kind of goes a little bit hand in hand with the God's purpose. Like, sure, there's death. you go through that grieving process, but it brings you closer to a community, but also kind of in the same vein of like Ignite Retreat. Like I came there at a time where I was burning deep to continue to desire God, and I went to the retreat and I was like, hey, here's an open-minded person. And I came into that weekend, I had a great time talking to people and like just getting to talk about my faith and the things I've gone through. But the minute I sat down in front of the Holy Eucharist, I had this undesirable, I shouldn't say undesirable, I had this desire to be up there. But God called me up there, and I kneeled down for an hour on my hands and knees and just cried.
I was there. I remember.
And
It was wonderful.
But I had that deep burning after that of like, what do I need now to walk out of these doors and go home and become Catholic? Nothing. I don't need anything else. Like I've just witnessed one of the most powerful, what's the proper word to say?
Consolation.
Yes. I had something that gave me this deep longing for my faith to just walk out and be like, I had this most powerful experience with the Holy Eucharist, knowing that that's Him.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't explain what I just went through. And so I left there and I came home and I said, talked to my wife, I said, I'm ready. Like, I don't need anything else.
Yeah.
Like,
Good.
sure, I have good questions to ask now, but I don't need somebody to tell me, I want you to become Catholic. I just witnessed this. And so when I learned more about the Eucharist, it kind of gave me that realization of like, yeah, like God's purpose was to put me there that weekend, to meet these other people, to grow in a community, but to have accountability to people and accountability from people.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it just, like, those, it's exactly what it's for. It's a retreat. It's for you to build that community and that relationship. But I just, like, lost it.
Yeah. It was incredible. Gonna take one more break on this cigar real quick. 2/3 the way through.
Well, Joseph's at the nub,
I'm at the nub.
but
Oh,
we're
right. Well, then
we're at the last
we're at
last third.
Sorry, I remember what I was experiencing. I can recall.
And I'll say, within probably starting the last third, I've been getting a lot of toasted wheat.
Yep. That's exactly Yep. That's what I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
There's a creaminess to it.
On the back end.
Yeah. Like it sticks with you.
Are you guys getting a little bit of a toasted
Yes.
coffee, like toasted coffee bean, or like more? It's if you could put the smell into a flavor, like when you are grinding coffee in the morning. I'm tasting that smell. It's if that makes sense.
Yes. Yes. Especially on the Retro Hill.
Yeah, this is one of the cleanest retro hails I've had in a very long time.
Yeah. This is exceptional. It's a great cigar.
Ooh. And I like how if you take a puff before you take a sip, it brings out a little more cherry. Now,
Oh.
it's like candy cherry, almost like Luxardo cherry or maraschino cherry. It's kind of a subtle hint. It's not near as powerful as the caramel.
There's like a fruit tart.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, then let's
Well done.
Get off me.
I'm handy.
Stupid idiot.
Yeah.
Okay.
You sick idiot.
Sticker. You don't have to take it.
Mama always said alligators are so ornery because they got all them teeth and no toothbrush.
Mama was wrong.
No, you're wrong, Colonel Sanders. Mama was right. Something's wrong with his medulla oblongata.
Oh, I was right. All right, so it's Sinistro cigars. Ooh.
Wow.
Okay. So it's called the Mr. Deflorado.
Sure.
Huh.
Wow.
Is there another?
That was my first guess.
No, there's not another thing. The Mr. Deflorado. Let's see if we got the notes right. So off the hit, it's like cream, vanilla, light floral, toasted nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
That was heavy.
In the middle, more woodiness, cinnamon,
I got that.
spice.
Okay, we had the
I was
spice.
getting pretty
Yeah.
cedar
Some
when I hit the
nutmeg,
middle.
And sweet and savory, kind of. And then
I
on
see
the
that.
back, the cream fades. It's like mild leather toasted bread, pepper, but more pronounced, but not restrained, but still restrained, and lingering sweet floral.
I wasn't getting much floral. I definitely the toasted bread. It was more of like a before it was like it was almost like fresh wheat, and someone was burning it.
me to keep it and put it in our stash.
Yeah, I don't keep my
We're gonna make a
beans.
whole mural out of all of them.
I've got a cigar journal. I'll add this too.
Yeah, that's right.
See, now that's a good-looking label
It's nice.
or good band.
It's sleek.
It's not campy.
Kind of reminds me of the Johnny Tobacco Knot a little bit, like just the black and gold and how it's kind of presented. Now
It's very
not
classy. It's got a
It's not a spaceman, but
what do you call it? Like a Great Gatsby, Roaring 20s.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kind of a look to it.
I like it.
I like it. It's not campy,
it's very bombastic.
which I know Adam likes. Very bombastic.
I like the campy.
I know.
I love the dude. My
Yeah.
favorite label still is the Cuban sandwich.
I know.
I loved it.
Campy doesn't do it for me. I look at that and
All
I
right,
just.
John Wayne.
You don't like camping?
I told you to get back inside. I like clean.
Well,
Simple.
we doing today, Pilgrim?
If you can't shoot straight, don't pull the
What
gun.
do you mean he can't swim? How old is he? He's 6. He just picks up the kid and tosses him.
Grab a handful of water and throw,
Throw
it behind you.
What are you doing? Teaching him how to swim.
That's how Long Pipey taught me. That's such a great scene.
I remember now, Dan, what I was going to bring up earlier. So we
more water boy. My son ain't playing no foosball. Foosball's the work of the devil.
Shut up, Dan. Let him focus.
Focusing.
You damn idiot.
Focusing. Simple-minded creature.
No, we had an incident at work a few weeks ago where I won't say it was going on for too long, but it was going on long enough where it became an instance of like, at what point does somebody just speak up and say, hey, I think we crossed the line here? And a word was said where it came to that point, and I just looked at my boss and was like, hey, we can have a conversation about this. Because, like, even though I'm a man and he's another man, like, it's guy talk, but ultimately, I just think about the women in the office. Like, this is going to make somebody uncomfortable, and I'm the one that's now uncomfortable. And I brought it up, and he's like, yeah, I kind of had a feeling it was going to happen at some point. And so it's that recognition of like, okay, you witnessed it, I witnessed it, you know about it, but like, why don't we just say something about it
Yeah.
Well,
and not let it linger?
absolutely, and I think that was handled perfectly. And the reason why I think it was handled perfectly is it sounds like God kind of took the reins and used you. When you recognize there's something that needs to be said to someone, one of the best prayers that has worked for me tremendously has been, God, give me the time, the words, and the strength. Because I may think, oh, I see a discrepancy, I need to change it, or I need to answer it, I need to do something. But that may not be the right time. The person you're saying it to, like whether you're confronting the individual who's doing it or confronting the person in charge to go do something about it, regardless, like it may not be the right time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the last thing you want to do is force the issue.
Right. Yeah.
So, because sometimes you may not be the person who needs to say something. Maybe you recognize it, you pray about it, and all of a sudden God has someone else do it for you.
Yeah.
Or
That's well said.
sometimes God can intervene into that individual who's doing it or saying it or whatever the case may be. Like God may intervene in their heart and their mind with some sort of interruption.
Yep.
To where all of a sudden, like it stops and they don't do it anymore. That has been an amazing prayer that has helped me. Is if there's something that needs to be said, done, or changed, give me the time the proper time to do it, the strength to do it, and help me do it in the way that is ultimately going to bring and bear fruit.
Do you guys remember growing up
No,
and
I was born this age.
Talking about.
I
and
was born last week.
you did something wrong, you did something wrong, and all day you spent knowing or expecting your dad to come home and he's going to have words with you, and he doesn't say anything.
Yep.
And that was almost worse because you knew you did something wrong. You didn't need to hear him say anything about it, but the fact that he didn't say anything, it just made that guilt, and that it was more impactful than if he had come home and be like, "What the heck were you doing?" And just like laid into you. Like I remember, kind of piggyback off of that. One time I got pulled over. I got pulled over. I was going, I think, 7 over the speed limit, and it was more impactful that cop let me off than if he had, I think, given me a ticket. Like the fact that he let me go, I had so much respect for that man. I think I drove 60 on the highway for like a year after that.
Yep.
Because it was like, this guy, he could have written me a ticket. I would have had nothing. I couldn't have done anything about it. And he gave me a warning. He told me, "Hey, buddy, I just want you to slow down. I want you to be safe. Let's just slow it down a little bit." I was like, "All right, officer. Yeah, I can do that. Thank you." And he would have, Dr. Scott Hahn, he talked about this. He said that justice, let's see, how do you say it? Mercy and justice are always at odds.
Yes.
That justice robs mercy, and mercy robs the individual of justice or society of justice.
Yeah.
But both are needed for an individual to grow. And so when you know you've done something wrong, but you're given mercy, it almost creates justice, because then you don't do that thing again. But then other times you do something wrong and you are reprimanded, and there is a consequence that you have to fulfill. And in that, you might also experience mercy towards yourself, because you're paying that price now, as opposed to, maybe in purgatory or something.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting. Like, you need both. But if you live in a society that always lets people off the hook, there's no justice.
Right.
And if you always deliver justice, you create a resentful society, because everyone's constantly paying these fines.
Yeah.
So you need both, but it takes prudence to know when to
And wisdom.
allocate which to that individual. And there needs to be some sort of awareness or like knowledge of that person. Like for example, like imposing a heavy fine on someone that can never pay it
Yeah.
may not actually warrant a favorable outcome.
Right.
But at the same
puberty.
time, though, and this is where discernment comes in, giving him something to work towards to pay off this fine might also be mercy and justice towards them as well, because they might be aligning themselves and getting out of this lazy rut. They're working harder to pay off this debt that they now owe. So it's tough. It's like, when do you apply which? And I think that's where wisdom and prudence comes in.
Well, and that reminds me of there's a story about this guy who I think killed this guy's daughter. Basically killed a kid drunk driving, and this guy's in court, and the family, every member of the family, brothers and sisters, all stood up. I believe either the father and the mother, one of the parents stood up and just berated this guy. Wanted this guy dead. Mm-hmm. It was, wanted this guy dead, and all of a sudden the other parent stood up, and he was expecting another beratement, and he was just sitting there kind of stone-faced, and they looked at him, they gave us a couple second pause, and they said, "I forgive you." And immediately the person broke down and wept. And immediately, from what they said, it was tremendous guilt, because finally someone opened up a little bit of warmth to him, and it just broke him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's where this is where understanding and ultimately wisdom And I think it's not an earthly wisdom. It's wisdom that only God can give
Yeah.
on when is the right time to show mercy. And I think a lot of times justice is mercy. I think that's something that we do forget about. Because justice a lot of times does show us the wrongs that we are doing or that we have done. It helps us become more aware. Especially if we're not aware. But mercy has a funny way of acting like justice
Yeah.
in just the right moment, the right time, with the right heart that it's being presented to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's that time.
It is.
Phenomenal cigar. Phenomenal company. Thanks
you.
for joining us, buddy. This will
Yeah.
not be the last time.
No, well,
No. Whoa. Well. Yeah.
Invite yourself, why don't you?
he's one visit and he's already come back.
Man, you open your door one time.
We have.
Starting with me.
Oh, fine. We have
Joseph.
Brandon.
Adam.
Best for last, day in the man.
Great cigar, great company, great conversation. Thanks for joining us at the table in Joseph's backyard. I will say, Joseph, good luck, buddy. It's going to be a few episodes before we see you again because you have a child that's your wife's about to pop, buddy.
Oh, she has popped.
Yo, that's crazy.
Literally.
Why the hell would you guys say that? She's
What
in
are you
there
talking about?
beautiful, taking care of your kids, and you're talking about Jesus.
Lordy.
Wow.
No, she's our due date is in, let's see here.
like
just under
3 days.
No, it's less than
2 days.
It's less than 2 weeks, but Matthew came a week early, so I have a feeling it's going to be this weekend.
All right, buddy.
She told me a date, specific date, and you were wrong.
I was wrong.
I'm gonna go tell her.
I'm not wrong.
You guys go home. Leave us. Bye.
Thanks for joining us at the table. We'll see you next time.
Probably not, but hey.
We can hope.
We can only.